Well, let's get this started. There's not a whole lot of new stuff going on this week. I think things tend to slow down sometimes in the summer, so I'll quick over a couple of PRs here, and then I've just got a quick update. All right, so I saw one new PR this week, and that is to add block-in traces to Blue Store. No one, as far as I know, has reviewed that yet, so perhaps folks that are also working on other tracing in the OSD might be interested in looking at it. And then there was one closed PR this week, and that was an old PR that was just closed by the Stalebot to do testing on ARM architecture. So I don't know if that might have gotten updated. I think I saw something similar to this somewhere else, but in any event, it hadn't been touched in a long time, so that one just got closed out. There were four that were updated. Adam's PR to prevent huge write-ahead log sizes in RocksDB after he enabled column sharding. Is a pretty simple PR, but there's a lot of discussion in there about how big the aggregate write-ahead log should be, buffer sizes, number of buffers, the kinds of settings that we should use for throttling and waiting on continuing writes, kind of the overall, what makes sense for the overall aggregate write-ahead log size, these kinds of things. Let's see. Okay, next, another PR related to RocksDB. This one from Majian Peng, and this is to enable RocksDB pipelined writes, which when Blue Store was written, this didn't exist. So now potentially we can make use of it. Adam tested this and did not see any performance improvement with it, which doesn't totally surprise me on Incerta, because there I don't always see the KV sync thread as the sole bottleneck, even with like small random writes. So I'm not super surprised by his results, but I still suspect this actually is a good PR and probably makes sense. Let's see, next one updated. Deepika's better Blue Store mempool tracking, so we don't have like Blue Store, I think it was like buffer other or something, where we just shove a bunch of random stuff and it doesn't make sense. So she's breaking that out into all kinds of really useful things, tracking extents and blobs and shared blobs and buffers and onodes and all kinds of stuff in separate pools. So that's fantastic. I'm really excited to see that. I think that will be a really good PR once it's working. And then the last one is another testing PR for benchmarking buffer list encode base 64 and decode base 64. Kifu did a quick review on that, thinking that he thought that we might be better off with external tests rather than having this be one of the tests directly in the tree. So that was it for updated PRs. There's a couple of other notable things in here that we should probably get done or try to get done before the dev freeze. The two big ones that have come up recently are Igor's PR to fix the very rare site fault that we see with the Blue Store onode pinning. Blue Store onode cache pinning. I tried to fix that a little while back, and my fix did not work sufficiently, just due to the complexity in the way that the intrusive lists work in Boost, and when you're trying to move things between them and also potentially have things disappearing, there's just it turns out that it's quite complex. So his PR kind of works around that, but for whatever reason is not quite working yet. So that's one. And then the other big one that Nihad just mentioned earlier today is there's a desire now that other atoms, column family sharding PR has emerged, that we also now try to get the avoiding double caching blue store O nodes PR merged. And so that will require a fairly significant refactor, but hopefully it won't be too bad. So I'll try to see if I can get that done before end of June here. So that's pretty much it for PRs. Anyone have anything else I missed? All right. Go ahead.
Mark, I just wanted to clarify, are you aware of how reassign to mempool works? I was just taking a look into it. Reassign to mempool.
Reassign to mempool. No, I do not. I have not actually looked real carefully into the mempool code. I've only really used it for tracking rather than actually looking at how it's doing like memory management, and especially like it sounds like what you're looking at is probably reassigning memory to the mempool. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to confirm that alone. I can test it. Otherwise, I'm doing that only. I just wanted to confirm if you were aware of that. But I think our results will then pick otherwise.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't actually played around with or like really read through the mempool codes significantly. Just kind of the way that we interface with it. So
yeah.
I'm trying to think who would be the best person to talk to.
I saw the Git flame and I think Casey wrote it. I was thinking Casey.
Oh, Casey wrote it. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I was not clear whether it's actually assigning a pointer, completely changing, like if it will track everything after that to that mempool related to that data structure, or is it just at that particular point of time?
Sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't help you on it. But if you find out the answer from Casey, that would be absolutely let us know in the meeting here so that we have it documented.
Yeah, sure. I'll also first test it.
Sure.
If I didn't find them.
One thing I've wondered about too, with the mempools, and kind of maybe in the same ballpark of what you're talking about, is whether or not we do anything like placement new using mempools. I don't know exactly how we allocate memory from a mempool or if we pre-allocate memory, but it'd be really neat if we started moving towards a model where we're taking a pre-allocated area of memory and then doing placement new from it. But I haven't really seen that pattern used at all, so I'm not sure if we do.
Would that be a good to have?
Yeah.
If mempool is capable of it.
Yeah.
Also, you added a comment in the PR that after that maybe we should, I think, in addition to teaching the categories, we may want to think about how if PCM can use some of these new categories along with PG memory usage. Want to discuss what approach you had in mind?
Sure. So right now, the PCM has the priority cache manager. Right now, it has this concept of OSD base memory, which is basically just a fudge factor where we don't really know how much memory the OSD is using for other things. It just kind of says, okay, well, we'll assume just based on historic evidence that the OSD will probably use around 700 megabytes or something for just general memory consumption. But that's not real, right? It's things that we don't know about, so we make it up, and that's to help it avoid kind of thrashing around the memory limit. It will still keep it under that on average because it will look at the amount of mapped memory overall and then try to keep it below that anyway. But that base memory helps it avoid kind of bouncing back and forth above that limit. So the more we can tell it about how much memory things are being used for things that it doesn't know about, the more then it can do a better job of really kind of keeping us below the target value.
I think I got a basic idea.
Sure.
That makes sense.
It's kind of like oh, go ahead.
So the basic thing that we want to achieve is to have an overview with the current memory use, using mempool, and then hinting that to the OST membase that possibly you should allocate this much amount of memory. Is that right?
It's in this case, what it will do is in both cases it will reduce the size of the caches if we're exceeding the memory target. If the mapped memory of the process is too big, in both cases it will shrink the caches to try to compensate for that. What this would do, that kind of base value or knowing about other memory would do, is let us say that we know that there's going to be some base level of memory usage. So shouldn't let the caches get too big, because there's going to be other things that are using memory that we don't want. It just kind of changes the acceleration factor of how we reduce memory or grow memory. It makes it so that we're much more tentative about allocating memory when we think something else is going to use it potentially or is using it, versus maybe be more aggressive about it if in a situation where we didn't know about it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Like predicting, okay, did they use this much memory?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there'll be a deadlock somewhere.
So kind of like if we're using a ton of pglog memory, then we shouldn't be as aggressive about like giving the cache memory. If we have some free memory, we should just be a little bit more careful about it, because that other thing is using lots of memory, and even if that has a temporary drop or something, we should target that thing could potentially use lots. So I'm hoping that maybe some of these statistics that we're gathering, especially about pglog, but even about like extents and about blobs and shared blobs and these kinds of things, will maybe help inform us about what we really should be doing with the cache.
Now I see the picture.
Yeah, I haven't totally thought about what it means, but I think we could use some of that and make better decisions from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got the point. Take a deeper look into it then.
All right. The only other thing I've got is that I'm continuing to work on Cephfs, both IO500 testing for the next round of results that they are requesting. That will be in about a month. It was delayed last week due to bugs in their benchmark code. And a big part of that is I'm continuing to work on pre-splitting and pre-exporting of directory fragments. So that's not really working great yet, but I'm making progress, so hopefully it will in the next week or two. And that's all I've got. So anything else, guys? Anything people would like to discuss this week? All right. Well, thank you for coming, and have a great weekend for folks that are off tomorrow. Otherwise, have a great weekend anyway, I guess, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. See you next week.
Bye.